Rus will win this matchup. It is the Muslim versus Core. Let's get to it. And now you're like, I see what you did there, KP. Very crafty, very smart. Very astute of you. Yes, because they're both playing the Rus. So technically, I am correct. Just means that Rus are always going to be losing this one as well. And it's going to be here on Highview, man. The Highview was just kind of one of the classics, I felt like, for a long time for the Rus. I think at the height of Pew Pew Ponyism, that was like, this was the de facto map. You came here, you saw some interesting kind of mirror motions around the usage of the Stealth Forest to secure the relics. And it made for a pretty entertaining game because there was always this kind of flexibility to flank on both sides due to the amassment of trees that block vision. But in this situation, days are different, times have changed. We might not see that reliance on Pew Pew Ponies that we have in the past, although at the same time, I wouldn't put it past these two players. The Muslim, for example, is a player that actually loves rushing towards Castle frequently with his build and going into those Horse Archers, and maybe even beyond into the Imperial, where he might switch. But the other one is Core. Core, I see him frequently on Highview at least, play once again into the usage of the Horse Archers. So we might be in for a classic Pew Pew Pony race to see who can keep the number advantage, in which case it just kind of turns into a micro battle versus a little bit of macro, because I think one thing that really sets some players apart in these Rus mirrors is when they start going for the Abbey of Trinity unique researchers so that Saint's Blessing can win them the fights. Loading up. We're just going to see a little bit of bounty hunting going on. It looks like Core getting the better side of this right now, but I'd expect this. I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't know about Core is Rus is probably his most played Civ by now. The other one that's really up there is HRE, but I feel like he's more selective of the map that he chooses for HRE, whereas Rus, he kind of flexes more or less everywhere. It's just a shame you don't get to see it as often to like open up a series for Core, because if, for example, you're running a rotation that has something like 4 lakes in it, or even Frisian, the temptation to go elsewhere is kind of gone, right? Like you have to choose Rus in this very kind of pocketed map, I think. And I think that's kind of like the double-edged sword of the Civ, is it can become very predictable when it can be used, despite the fact that it should be more flexible than practically any Civ in the game, simply because the upsides of certain maps are too strong to neglect. And, you know, 4 Lakes is definitely at the forefront of that. On the classic maps, the originals, I think Highview and Lipany would probably be taking the cake. I think Lipany more so just because of the ball placements usually. We did see for a while people were really flexing into the usage of it on King of the Hill, but that kind of swiftly departed as some people got sick and tired of that map, only for it to be replaced by a kind of pseudo version in the pit. But you know what? Let's see whose pits are getting sweaty in this one. It looks like right now Corey's keeping the lead, but it's about to be taken away from him by Benny Boy. Double Wolf Slay means 290. That's unfortunate for Corey in this situation. They did both stop at 3 on the scout count, but it looks like the Muslim had a better split. In fact, when we check the vision situation, yeah, that's kind of a tough one, actually. It looks like the Muslim kind of neglected this one area, which I don't think there was any wolves in. Maybe 1 max. And I think he did shift towards the center a little bit quicker, if I recall correctly, which is usually what we see out of players with the Rus, just because you typically get maybe 1 or 2 wolves that start spawning here on each side, and then you can weave out. Usually, I think you find them not even necessarily in the corner. More frequently, I'd say they're around these stealth forests in these pinch points between the corners. You know what? After all that, build-up is going to come out, and it looks like Core does have the lead. The Muslim lagging behind a little bit, despite the fact he had better bounty gathering. And you can see the difference is because he went for the Wooden Fortress before the tech up. I actually don't mind this choice if you don't want to go for a feudal rush. I think the feudal timing is critical if you want to actually get in there as fast as possible. But if you're just going to chill back, if you're not looking to rush your opponent's lines, it makes much more sense to set up the Wooden Fortress, get the better gains. The only other reason that you want to make a quicker Golden Gate is if you're going for the Villager pull at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Stopping off for this Wooden Fortress sets you back by about 10 to 15 seconds. It means you shouldn't really be competing for the ball play because you will be behind. We'll have to see if he wants to contest it, though. I do like the position of the scouts, but the pull-away timing could not be worse for Ben. The Muslim heading back to his base as Core now sneaks out. And looks like he'll freely be able to set up his Wooden Fortress. And remember, that's the big difference there. It's not just the delayed your Golden Gate. It's the fact that instead of having 175 wood for a fortress at the ball, you used it at home. And that's why this should be a pretty easy one for Core to yoink. Shiving pretty fast here as well. No villagers going down as he will be able to get his hands on it and immediately goes into the Wooden Fortress. The reaction coming out to Muslim as he notices something is up. He says, why the hell are the scouts pulling over here? But Core, to his credit, I want to just highlight this right now. This isn't poor play from Muslim. This is good play from Core. Core peeled his scouts off of the ball location towards Muslim's base. So Muslim wanted to mirror that movement because he thought there was going to be a threat to somewhere, such as the fact that he's on the stone at the back. Instead, it was a bait. It was a pull away intended to draw attention off this ball, and it's exactly why Core gets his hands on the goodies. Speaking of those goodies, you did hear me mention it. Muslim has now gone on the stone, is rushing up towards the second TC. Interesting build here. Most people will delay the secondary TC by an extra minute, so they don't have to pay out for a mining camp on the stone outcropping as well as the idle time. But Muslim wants his second TC incredibly quick here, which is why he sets it up, saving himself around a minute to wait. Because remember, you only get these supplies every minute to trade with. And realistically, to be honest with you, like Muslim, he had two choices. You either go stone or you go gold. And I think he doesn't really want to prolong gold investment. I don't think he wants to go knights. I think this is going to actually, based on what he's doing, be a fast castle build after the secondary TC. Kind of interesting because historically, Muslim goes the other way around. He likes to go for the fast castle into the secondary TC. This will delay his finite timings a little bit, or it's kind of tweak timings, but what it means is now you're going to escalate your eco away from your base. You shouldn't be locked out. And I love that he's on the gold here as well. Interesting choice. Could enable him to trade gold for food if that's lacking, and I think that's part of the intent here because he has got the deer on the backside as well as the gold. This is going to flex him for what he needs for castle. If he didn't have this secondary TC, he has practically no sheep to play off of. Cool. In the meantime, has finally set up the Wooden Fortress at home. Now we look at the resources, looking a little bit better for him right now. That's only because he went 1 TC compared to 2, plus going on the ball. This means that Core does have a faster peak timing, but it's not going to be as high in the 15-20 minutes. It's more before 15 minutes, he should look stronger. It's just a matter of whether he can actually utilize that correctly. Meanwhile, Core, oh wow, Core actually went on the stone as well. Oh no, one villager down, no! That's one too many, guys. That's the problem. Look at the resources right now. Core, he didn't even pull 5. Okay, so it seems like it's nitpicky, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, Pigeon, we'll go back for more. But yeah, think of the idle time. Think of the wasted time. Think of the fact you still also lost a villager to scouts. This doesn't feel good for Core, and the problem as well is the Muslim scouted this. He went out, he saw this, he knows you're now going for a secondary TC later, and it means that now the Muslim should feel very comfortable in the game. He set up static defenses, he's got his extension TC on the side, which I don't even know if Core is scouted. Look, okay, he has. In fairness, the vision on these buggers is ridiculous these days. You can just see it's kind of absurd how far you can see. But he gets the info. However, he's going to be delayed. And Core, the problem I see right now is it looks like you're at an indecision point. Do I go for the secondary TC or do I rush up? He's going to have to go for the TC because he invested in the stone. The downside here is although he has the ball gathering rate, that's not going to last forever. He's still going to be slow on the gold. In fact, if you look at the difference between these two, the Muslim's better off because the issue you have to consider here is Core has barely any more food despite the fact he went to the boar. Meanwhile, the Muslim's just playing off of deer. And the difference in these two, like, it's notable. You're talking about 0.9 compared to 0.82, if I remember correctly, 8.4. It's been a while. Need to refresh my numbers. But it's such a negligible difference that the fact that you delay yourself going to the secondary TC and now you have this burden of food that you have to pay into a second town center is going to put Core behind. Doesn't feel good. I can't believe I brain froze my gathering rates, actually. It's not like me. I'm pretty sure it's 0.84. Someone in chat can help me out. It's Monday. All right, forgive me this sin. It's weird because I can remember all the others off by heart pretty easy peasy. You know, you got the 0.75 for sheep and farms by default, and you got the 0.66 for berries, 1 for shoreline fish, boar is 0.9. I'm pretty sure it's 0.84. If it was anywhere nearer to 0.75, it just wouldn't be worth the risk of deer usually. Anyway, let's stop focusing on that. Let's focus on the fact that the Muslim is making his way up. It is going to be the standardized build of the Abbey of Trinity. And the triple archery range already being set up. It is going to turn into what we thought it was. It's going to be a micro battle. And to his credit, Core isn't as far off as he should be. But at the same time, it's 13 villages compared to 11. It is going to give an advantage to the Muslim. The Muslim should have between 3 and 4 horse archers out before core. That's a problem. That's an escalation advantage. Not to mention the fact that he's going to have his first warrior monk being built ahead of time. And with the difference, like, you're going to see the first warrior monk moving out into the field 15 to 20 seconds before cores, which means that the Muslim's likely going to pivot himself towards a central relic. The difficulty he might have is the positioning here that core has. He can block one out with a wooden fortress and the scouts, and he could try to maneuver the other with a secondary wooden fortress. Definitely would be worthwhile. But I love what the Muslim's done here. He played onto the other ball. And he done it in a stealth forest where he gets good bang for buck. 30 gold a minute from this hunting cabin. Compare that over here. Core's getting 34 for what is definitely a premium location. There we go. First horse archers, as we said. And because he's slow on the build-up as well, that's why I think it's going to be a 4 differential. Problematic for Core. He's going to have to micro his way to a good fight. Now, the upsides for Core is he does have a forward TC as well as the wooden fortress in the center. So he does kind of dictate the shortest route to base. He could trick the Muslim into a suboptimal fight. It's going to be very difficult, though, because Ben, like, he's played this matchup a lot. You know, he's no pushover by any stretch. And on top of that, like, he has good scout vision around these stealth forests. So he will be able to kind of understand exactly when he's running into any sort of static defense. I actually just love this from Ben on so many levels. Like, the fact that he got such a premium location is risky, but the reason it wasn't risky in this game is, like, I want you to think about what Ben done here. It's a mirror matchup between the roofs. Typically, these do go for horse archer rushes, which means no one's building into a castle. Even if you see your opponent go for a feudal rush, though, consider this. Feudal rush begins here. The whole concept of the feudal rush for the Rus is it's a short route to get towards your opponent's base. If I have to do this, great. If I have to go across here to then pivot back here, bad, because this creates a flanking point on me from here when I move through the stealth forest. You don't want to do this. That's why Ben went for this play. The Muslim understood that this is a very protected TC, even if Core goes all in on feudal, because the time spent trying to get rid of this is time that his main base would be unharassed, and it would allow him to still unlock castle before Core is sieging his base. Speaking of being siege, Core feeling the pressure already. There's a little bit of a fight going on. Advantage still with the Muslim, but slightly shrunk here. However, he wants to guard for the relics. The relic situation is what's important to him, as it looks like one has been banked on each side. Second one soon to be on the way back, and the third one now being patrolled and guarded by the Muslim. Should have an ability to reach in unless Core gets the Springwood upgrade. Fight about to commence. Scouts moving in to distract, and oh, they chased off the Warrior Monk. Mistakes made by Core there. He wasn't paying attention. Goes in for the strike, picks up the relic, but he's going to be peppered down. At least gave the Saints Blessing over, but a bad fight. Core with a big misclick there. It looked like he actually intended to click with the Warrior Monk, but moved the entire battalion here. And that's a big mistake. And as a result, the Muslim will be the one walking away with the cheddar. He gets the third relic and now has a decisive lead in the military department, up 12 military units over Core. Primarily all of that being horse archers. You can see 5 to 15. And it just shows you one mistake like this. I mean, this is the thing, right? These type of mistakes are costly in general. These type of mistakes in a mirror matchup can easily cost you the game. And I am a little bit worried now for Core, because he was already behind the eco department by a notable 9. Now he's behind, being almost tripled up in the military department. And on top of that, he's losing the relics as well. Like, there's no real upside right now for Core. He needs to go for a gambit type play. He needs to roll around with a small patrol of horse archers, breach the lines, and sacrifice to get kills on villagers. He needs to shrink this. The alternative is you go for a Mangonel and static emplacements to try and hold back the horse archer surge. But my issue is right now, like, neither of these options are being explored. Instead, he's escalated his archery range count up to 5. Meanwhile, on the other side, you can see the Muslim up at 4, but he went a different way. He went for the blacksmiths because he has extra gold. And although we will see the blacksmiths coming out from Core as well, there's no denying the fact there's going to be more gold available for the Muslim. The Muslim, who also, by the way, did go onto the gold veins. He can afford everything and anything right now. Same cannot be said for Core. And this is problematic because it means that we're going to start probably seeing Saints reach as well as improved Blessing, plus possibly even Knights being added in, at which stage Core doesn't really have an answer. He doesn't have a strong front line, and his back line is notably weaker in the count. That's why I would love to have seen Core switch over on a gold, maybe get a few Knights out, but it's problematic. It's tough to make work. Maybe some static defense crawl in. A little bit of siege pressure, but that switch over alone is too pricey, especially when you're doing the Horse Archer Ball. Horse Archer Ball is not going to work out for Core at this rate. Movement in. The attack click, no! He didn't even get the Saint's Blessing out. Mistakes made there. Core, he went for the attack click on the ground, which means his Warrior Monk decided to heal instead of attack. Oh, and this is a lesson, folks. This is why you should toggle this off. Notice what's been happening here. Notice what happened from the Muslim. He has got automatic healing off. Now, if I can find a Warrior Monk, if any still live for Core, I'm pretty sure I can't say the same. In fact, I don't think I get to prove my point, because I'm pretty sure they're all dead now for Core. Yep, all of them gone. He's not building more either. He can't afford to anymore. Like, his income is so poo-poo. He needs all the gold he's got to get the upgrades. So he can't actually afford to get more Warrior Monks. But make no mistake about this. This is the difference between auto-healing on and auto-healing off. Lesson to be learned, folks. Warrior Monks, it's a unique unit. You have to use it correctly. And although the attack click functionality for the Monks overall was seen as a buff, and if you're a little bit of a forgetful fish, tends to lead to a nerfed feeling for the Rus. And here's the all-in Gambit play we're talking about. Core going in. 2 Warrior Monks charging in. These ones do have the auto-heal on, but he clicked them to attack, and now they're going to circle jerk each other. Tanking a lot of fire, actually, which means the Horse Archer count is going to start to go against Core. He needs to back away. And I don't like this play at all, folks. Like, what's happened here is Core has gone in and attacked military. Eco is unharassed. It just continues to scale. And just look at the count right now. This is not a favorable fight. You can see he's already been out-teched, right? The 2 damage versus the 1. The Boyer's Fortitude as well. This game is done. There's nothing left, right? You had double the count here, and yet you lost. Pretty notably. And now, with this surging force of Horse Archers that the Muslim has, he doesn't even have to play directly in your base. He can just play triple Sacred Sight and then slowly crawl in. And you can already see the reaction coming out from Core. Desperation sets in. One, he has to go for the farms very early on at this stage, considering that you haven't really achieved much in terms of your win condition goals. And on top of that, you have to go for a free TC build. Yeah, this is going to leave you without a military force to fight. In fact, if you look at the count, once again, the Muslim is almost tripling up that of which Core has. Now, keep in mind, that gets harder to maintain that type of lead as you escalate these numbers, but yet here we are, 43 military to the 17. And villages being sniped now by the Muslim, something that Core should have been doing in the first place. A dive pass as the Wooden Fortress is constructed up. The Spring will take too long to build. You can see the reaction coming out. Core has to peel everything back. He knows there's no way to stop this raid through. He will wave that white flag, and Benny Boy will educate him with the stick instead of the carrot.